The Stoics believed that every new season of life demands a new version of the self. Marcus Aurelius wrote his thoughts not to impress others, but to rebuild himself during chaos. Reinvention to the Stoics was not about becoming louder or more admired. It was about becoming unshakable. This series is about shedding weakness, releasing noise, and rebuilding your inner world so deeply that the outer world can no longer disturb you. Reinvention begins quietly. Strength grows inward, and peace becomes your advantage. Chapter 1. Let go of what nitrogen monoxide longer serves your soul. Reinvention does not begin by adding something new. It begins by removing what is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. The Stoics understood that excess weakens the mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote that life becomes lighter the moment we stop carrying what does not belong to us. To reinvent yourself in 2026, you must first learn to release. Most people hold on to habits, thoughts, and identities long after they have expired. They cling to routines that drain them, relationships that confuse them, and beliefs that limit their growth. This attachment creates inner friction. Friction creates unrest, and unrest makes life heavier than it needs to be. Stoicism teaches that peace comes from simplification. Seneca warned that a crowded mind is never calm. When you hold too much, clarity disappears. Reinvention begins when you ask one honest question. What am I holding on to that no longer helps me grow? Letting go feels uncomfortable because the mind prefers the familiar over the healthy. Even pain can feel safer than change. Epictetus taught that we suffer not because of events, but because of our attachment to them. When you release attachment, suffering weakens. To let go, you must observe yourself without judgment. Watch how you spend your energy. Notice which habits leave you stronger and which leave you empty. Awareness is the first act of discipline. Without awareness, change is impossible. Many people try to reinvent themselves by copying others. Stoicism rejects imitation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to live according to his own nature. Reinvention is not becoming someone else. It is removing what blocks your natural strength. Old identities are often the hardest to release. You may still see yourself as who you used to be. Past failures, past roles, past labels can anchor you to an outdated version of yourself. The Stoics believed identity should be fluid, shaped by virtue, not history. Letting go of old identity creates space for growth. When you stop defining yourself by the past, the future becomes lighter. Seneca wrote that life improves when we stop dragging yesterday into today. Another burden to release is the need for approval. Seeking validation places your peace in the hands of others. This is a fragile position. Stoicism teaches inner authority. Your worth is not decided by applause. When you let go of approval seeking, your actions become clearer. You stop performing. You start living. This shift alone can transform your mental state. Reinvention also requires releasing unnecessary anger. Anger consumes energy without building strength. Marcus Aurelius warned that anger harms the one who holds it more than the one who receives it. Letting go of resentment frees mental space. Forgiveness in Stoicism is not about excusing behavior. It is about reclaiming peace. When you forgive, you stop feeding old wounds. You allow the mind to move forward. You must also let go of constant distraction. Endless consumption weakens focus. The Stoics practiced intentional living. They chose what entered their minds. Silence was a tool, not a void. When you reduce noise, clarity returns. You begin to hear your own thoughts again. This is where reinvention truly begins. Letting go also means releasing false urgency. Not everything needs immediate reaction. Calm grows when you learn to pause. Epictetus taught that control begins in delay. The habit of overreacting keeps people trapped in cycles. Reinvention demands restraint. Restraint protects clarity. Old goals may also need release. Some ambitions belong to past versions of you. Holding on to outdated goals drains motivation. Stoicism values alignment over ambition. When goals align with values, effort feels lighter. When they do not, effort feels exhausting. Let go of what no longer matches who you are becoming. Reinvention is not dramatic. It is quiet. It happens through daily decisions. Each time you release something harmful, you reclaim a piece of peace. Letting go requires courage. The familiar will resist. The mind will negotiate. Stay firm. Discipline is choosing long-term calm over short-term comfort. As you release, you may feel emptiness. Do not rush to fill it. Emptiness is space. Space is potential. Marcus Aurelius believed that emptiness invites wisdom. When the mind is not cluttered, truth enters naturally. This chapter teaches the first Stoic lesson of reinvention. Before you become unbothered, you must become unburdened. Release what weakens you. Release what distracts you. Release what no longer serves your soul. And in that release, you will feel the first breath of freedom. Chapter 2. Master your inner dialogue, or it will master you. Reinvention is impossible if your own mind is working against you. The Stoics believed that the greatest battles are not fought in the world, but within the thoughts you allow to live inside you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that your life is shaped by the quality of your thoughts. If your inner dialogue is chaotic, your life will reflect that chaos. Most people speak to themselves more harshly than they would ever speak to another human being. They repeat doubts, replay mistakes, and imagine failure before action even begins. This internal noise weakens confidence and drains energy. Stoicism teaches that peace begins when you take responsibility for your inner voice. Thoughts appear automatically, but belief is optional. Epictetus taught that impressions arrive uninvited, but acceptance is a choice. When you believe every thought, you surrender control. When you examine thoughts, you reclaim it. To reinvent yourself in 2026, you must become the gatekeeper of your mind. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every fear deserves belief. A disciplined mind filters before it reacts. Negative inner dialogue often disguises itself as realism. People say they are being honest, when they are actually being cruel to themselves. Stoicism rejects unnecessary harshness. Truth does not need to be violent to be effective. Marcus Aurelius practiced gentle correction. When his mind wandered into fear or frustration, he redirected it calmly. He did not attack himself. He trained himself. Your inner voice should be firm, not abusive. Discipline grows through consistency, not self-hatred. A calm mind learns faster than a threatened one. Overthinking is a symptom of lost control. The mind repeats scenarios because it seeks certainty. Stoicism teaches acceptance of uncertainty. You do not need to predict everything to act wisely. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most fears never materialize. Yet they consume mental space as if they were real. Reinvention requires reducing imagined suffering. To master your inner dialogue, slow it down. Fast thoughts create panic. Slow thoughts create clarity. Speak to yourself with intention. Replace questions like, "What if everything fails?" with, "What is the next right action?" This shift grounds the mind in the present. The Stoics believe that attention is power. Whatever you focus on grows. If you feed fear, it strengthens. If you feed discipline, it expands. Your inner dialogue should guide action, not paralyze it. Calm instruction is more effective than emotional commentary. Another trap is comparison. The inner voice compares progress, status, and outcomes. This creates dissatisfaction. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to stay focused on his own task. Comparison distracts from purpose. Reinvention requires inward focus. Measure yourself against your values, not others' achievements. Self-trust is built through honoring small promises. When your inner voice tells you to act, and you follow through, confidence grows. When you ignore yourself, doubt increases. Stoicism values alignment. Thought and action must cooperate. A divided mind creates tension. A unified mind creates strength. You must also challenge exaggerated narratives. One mistake does not define your identity. One delay does not equal failure. Epictetus taught that events are neutral until judged. Train your inner voice to describe, not dramatize. Description maintains clarity. Drama fuels anxiety. Language shapes perception. Words like always, never, and ruin distort reality. Remove them from your inner dialogue. Replace them with precise language. This happened. I can respond. Precision restores control. Reinvention also requires releasing the inner critic that demands perfection. Stoicism values progress, not flawlessness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that improvement is enough. Perfectionism delays action. Calm minds move forward steadily. Silence is also a tool. You do not need to respond to every thought. Let some pass without engagement. Stillness weakens mental noise. Daily reflection strengthens control. Stoics reviewed their thoughts each evening. This practice reveals patterns. Awareness creates choice. Ask yourself what thoughts drained you and which strengthened you. Reinforcement builds discipline. Your inner dialogue should support resilience. When challenges arise, speak encouragement, not defeat. Courage is reinforced internally before it appears externally. The mind believes repetition. Repeat calm thoughts. Repeat disciplined messages. Over time, they replace chaos. Reinvention is not about silencing thought. It is about guiding it. This chapter teaches a core Stoic lesson. If you do not master your inner dialogue, it will shape your future without your consent. But when you take command of your thoughts, you take command of your life. Chapter 3. Remove emotional dependence and reclaim your power. Reinvention begins when you stop handing your emotional stability to other people. The Stoics believed that dependence is the fastest path to suffering. When your peace relies on approval, attention, or validation, you become fragile. Marcus Aurelius warned that a person who depends on others for calm will never be calm for long. Most emotional pain does not come from events themselves, but from attachment to outcomes you do not control. Stoicism teaches that freedom begins when you remove unnecessary emotional hooks. You can care without clinging. You can connect without surrendering yourself. Emotional dependence often hides behind love, loyalty, or kindness. But when your mood rises and falls based on someone else's behavior, power shifts away from you. Epictetus taught that anything you cannot afford to lose controls you. Reinvention in 2026 requires emotional independence. This does not mean isolation, it means stability. You remain grounded regardless of external response. Many people fear emotional independence because they confuse it with coldness. Stoicism does not teach emotional numbness. It teaches emotional sovereignty. You feel fully, but you do not collapse. Approval seeking is one of the earliest habits to remove. Praise feels good, but dependence on it creates anxiety. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to hunger for applause. Applause fades. Character remains. When approval becomes fuel, rejection becomes poison. Emotional independence removes both extremes. You act according to values, not reactions. Another source of dependence is expectation. You expect people to behave a certain way. When they do not, frustration appears. Seneca warned that expectations are silent contracts others never agreed to. Release expectations and disappointment loses its grip. Emotional independence also means releasing the need to be understood. Not everyone will see your intentions. Not everyone will validate your effort. Stoicism teaches acceptance of misunderstanding. You do not need universal agreement to live correctly. Dependence also appears as fear of abandonment. This fear drives compromise, silence, and self-betrayal. Epictetus taught that you must first belong to yourself. When you stand firm internally, relationships become healthier. You choose connection, not need it. Another emotional trap is over-explaining. When you constantly justify yourself, you seek reassurance. Calm individuals explain once, then move forward. Silence can be strength. Marcus Aurelius practiced restraint in speech. He understood that clarity does not require repetition. Emotional independence also requires accepting solitude. Many people avoid being alone because silence exposes unresolved thoughts. Stoics embraced solitude as training. Solitude strengthens self-trust. You learn to rely on your own judgment. Emotional reactions often come from unconscious attachment. When anger rises, ask what expectation was violated. When sadness appears, ask what dependency was exposed. Awareness weakens attachment. Stoicism teaches that people act according to their understanding, not your expectations. This realization softens resentment. When someone disappoints you, you do not collapse. You adjust. Emotional independence also means letting go of control. You cannot manage other people's emotions. Trying creates exhaustion. Focus on your conduct. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you must concern yourself only with what depends on you. Reinvention requires emotional maturity. You stop blaming others for how you feel. Responsibility restores power. When emotions arise, observe them. Do not obey them immediately. Distance creates choice. Calm individuals do not suppress emotion, they regulate it. Dependence also shows up as fear of judgment. When you shape your life to avoid criticism, you lose authenticity. Stoicism teaches courage over comfort. Criticism does not define you. Character does. You must also release emotional dependence on the past. Regret chains attention backward. Seneca warned against living in memory instead of reality. Learn, then release. Emotional independence strengthens resilience. When life shifts, you adapt instead of breaking. You stop begging situations to be different. You work with what is. This independence creates quiet confidence. You do not announce it. Others feel it. When emotions stabilize internally, decisions improve externally. This chapter teaches a powerful Stoic truth. The less you emotionally depend on others, the more peaceful your life becomes. Reinvention does not require changing everyone around you. It requires reclaiming yourself. When you remove emotional dependence, you stop reacting and start choosing. And in that choice, you become unbothered. Chapter 4. Cut mental noise and build unbreakable focus. Reinvention becomes impossible when the mind is crowded. The Stoics believed that mental noise is one of the greatest enemies of clarity. When thoughts race endlessly, decisions weaken. Focus dissolves. Energy leaks in every direction. Marcus Aurelius warned that a scattered mind cannot live well, no matter how good its intentions are. Mental noise comes from excess, too many opinions, too many comparisons, too many imagined futures. The modern world rewards distraction, but Stoicism rewards discipline. Reinventing yourself in 2026 requires learning how to protect your attention like a sacred resource. Most people believe they lack motivation, but what they truly lack is focus. The mind becomes exhausted not from work, but from constant switching. Stoicism teaches single-pointed attention. One task, one moment, one duty. When attention is divided, peace disappears. Seneca wrote that being everywhere is the same as being nowhere. Focus returns strength to the mind. Mental noise often begins with comparison. You measure your progress against others. Their success feels like your failure. This habit creates restlessness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that comparison is irrelevant to virtue. Your path is not theirs. Their pace is not your pace. Another source of noise is overconsumption. Endless content fills the mind with borrowed thoughts. Opinions replace wisdom. Stoics practiced intentional ignorance. They chose what to allow inside. Reinvention requires filtering input. Not everything deserves your attention. Focus also dies when the mind clings to outcomes. You replay scenarios. You imagine success and failure. Epictetus warned that obsession with results steals peace from the present. Focus on effort. Outcomes follow naturally. Mental noise also comes from unresolved decisions. When choices linger, the mind replays them endlessly. Stoicism teaches decisive action guided by reason. Make the best decision with available information, then commit fully. Silence is one of the strongest tools for mental clarity. Marcus Aurelius often withdrew inwardly, even in crowded spaces. Silence allows the mind to reset. You do not need to respond to every thought. Let some pass without engagement. Another distraction is emotional replay, past arguments, old regrets, imagined conversations. These drain attention. Seneca warned that revisiting the past repeatedly is a form of self-harm. Learn, then release. Focus strengthens when routines are simple. Complexity creates friction. Stoics valued simplicity in habits, possessions, and schedules. Simpler life. Sharper mind. Mental discipline also means training attention deliberately. Focus is a muscle. It strengthens through use. Begin with small periods of deep focus. Do one thing fully. Finish it, rest, repeat. When the mind wanders, gently return it. Do not punish yourself. Stoicism teaches patience with progress. Noise also increases when goals lack meaning. When purpose is unclear, attention scatters. Marcus Aurelius believed purpose anchors focus. Know why you act. Fear also creates distraction. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. These fears fragment attention. Courage reunites it. Focus grows when fear loses authority. Another mental trap is constant planning without action. Planning feels productive, but excessive planning becomes avoidance. Stoicism values action over speculation. Act, adjust, continue. Mental noise often disguises itself as productivity. Busy does not mean effective. Calm focus outperforms frantic effort. The unbothered mind moves slowly but steadily. Focus also improves when boundaries exist. Say no more often. Protect time. Protect energy. Not everything deserves access to you. When focus strengthens, confidence rises. You trust yourself to finish what you start. Clarity returns. Anxiety fades. Decisions simplify. This chapter teaches a powerful Stoic lesson. Reinvention is not about adding more. It is about removing distraction. When mental noise disappears, your true strength becomes audible, and in that silence, focus becomes unbreakable. Chapter 5. Let go of what you cannot control. Reinvention becomes effortless when you stop fighting reality. The Stoics believed that most suffering comes from trying to control what was never yours to command. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that peace begins when you accept the limits of your power. You can control your thoughts. You can control your actions. You can control your character. Everything else is external. Most anxiety is born from confusion about this boundary. You worry about opinions, outcomes, timing, and recognition. Stoicism cuts through this confusion with one sharp truth. Control what belongs to you. Release what does not. When you cling to what you cannot control, you weaken yourself. You give your peace to chance. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you stop demanding certainty from life. Letting go does not mean indifference. It means wisdom. People misunderstand Stoic acceptance. They think it is passive. It is not. It is focused effort without emotional attachment to results. You do your best, then you release the outcome. This release creates calm strength. One of the hardest things to let go of is other people's opinions. Praise inflates. Criticism wounds. Both distract you from your path. Marcus Aurelius wrote that living for approval makes you a servant to others' moods. Your value is not decided by applause. Another heavy burden is expectation. You expect fairness. You expect loyalty. You expect life to reward effort quickly. When expectations fail, frustration grows. Stoicism teaches that expectation is optional. Replace expectation with preparation. Letting go also applies to timing. Many people suffer because life is not moving fast enough for them. They rush growth. They pressure results. Seneca warned that impatience steals joy from progress. What is meant for you arrives when you are ready to carry it. Past mistakes are another trap. Regret keeps the mind chained to what cannot be changed. Reflection teaches. Obsession destroys. Marcus Aurelius believed that learning without self-punishment is the mark of wisdom. Learn, adjust, move forward. Fear often disguises itself as control. You replay scenarios to feel prepared, but overthinking weakens action. Epictetus taught that worrying about the future does not protect you. It exhausts you. Focus on the present moment. It is the only place where power exists. Letting go also means releasing resentment. Holding anger feels like strength, but it poisons calm. Stoicism teaches justice without hatred. You can set boundaries without bitterness. Peace is stronger than revenge. When you let go, energy returns. The mind clears. Decisions simplify. You stop reacting emotionally and start acting intentionally. This is how the unbothered mind is built. Reinvention requires trust. Trust in your effort. Trust in time. Trust that discipline compounds quietly. Marcus Aurelius trusted reason more than circumstance. You must do the same. Letting go does not make you weak. It makes you precise. You stop wasting strength on battles you cannot win. Control your conduct. Release the rest. This chapter teaches a liberating Stoic truth. When you stop trying to control everything, you finally gain control of yourself. And when you master yourself, nothing external can disturb your peace. Chapter 6. Become unbothered by building inner authority. Reinvention is complete when your peace no longer depends on external approval. The Stoics believed the highest form of freedom is inner authority. This means your sense of worth, direction, and calm comes from within, not from circumstances or people. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that no one can harm your character unless you allow it. When you understand this, you become unbothered. Most people live under invisible authority. They are ruled by opinions, trends, fear of rejection, and the need to be liked. This makes the mind restless. Stoicism offers an alternative. You become your own judge. You measure yourself by your values, not by applause. Inner authority begins with self-trust. You trust your reasoning. You trust your discipline. You trust your ability to endure discomfort. Epictetus taught that confidence grows when actions align with principles. When your life matches your values, doubt weakens. Being unbothered does not mean being cold or distant. It means being stable. You feel emotions without being controlled by them. You listen to criticism without collapsing. You accept praise without becoming dependent on it. Many people confuse emotional intensity with authenticity. Stoicism teaches emotional regulation, not suppression. You feel deeply, but you respond wisely. This balance creates calm strength. Inner authority also requires solitude. Time alone strengthens clarity. Marcus Aurelius used solitude to reflect, not to escape. Silence allows the mind to reset. Without constant noise, your own voice becomes clear. When you rely on inner authority, comparison loses power. You stop measuring progress against others. Your journey becomes personal. Seneca warned that comparison steals peace because it shifts focus outward. The unbothered person does not rush to prove anything. Proof comes through consistency. Quiet discipline replaces loud ambition. Results speak louder than intention. Inner authority also changes how you handle failure. Instead of shame, you seek lessons. Instead of excuses, you seek improvement. Marcus Aurelius believed mistakes were teachers, not verdicts. Another mark of inner authority is restraint. You no longer react to every provocation. Silence becomes a choice, not weakness. Epictetus taught that self-control is true power. Being unbothered means you no longer chase closure from others. You close chapters yourself. You do not wait for apologies or explanations. Your peace does not require permission. This independence scares insecure minds. Some may call you distant. Let them. Stoicism teaches that misunderstanding is the price of integrity. Inner authority also reshapes ambition. You pursue goals without obsession. You work hard without attachment to outcome. Seneca believed effort should be intense, but the mind should remain light. The unbothered mind respects time. It does not rush growth. It allows seasons to pass. Patience becomes natural when you trust your process. You also learn to choose your battles carefully. Not every disagreement deserves energy. Not every opinion deserves response. Marcus Aurelius wrote that tranquility comes from ignoring what does not matter. Inner authority brings emotional independence. Your mood no longer rises and falls with events. You experience joy without fear of loss. You experience pain without despair. This does not happen overnight. It is built through daily discipline. Each calm response strengthens it. Each restrained impulse reinforces it. Reinvention is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you are without fear. Stoicism strips away what is unnecessary until only strength remains. When you are unbothered, life feels lighter. Problems still exist, but they do not define you. You move through chaos with dignity. This chapter completes the Stoic path to reinvention. Inner authority is the final step. When you govern yourself, the world loses its power over you. And when nothing controls your peace, you are truly free. This is the Stoic Tide. If this series strengthened you, like to support Stoic wisdom, share with someone ready to reinvent themselves. Subscribe for calm strength, discipline, and an unbothered life.